Purpose is not biology. It is not a hormone or a gene or a circuit in the brain. When purpose is lived, the human system begins to change. This distinction is important to understand because the moment we reduce purpose to chemistry, we lose what makes us human. We are not just a chemical system. And the moment we ignore biology, we lose what makes purpose sustainable throughout our life. Sure, purpose does not live in the body, but the body does listen to how we live, which to a large degree is defined by our sense of meaning and purpose. So, sure, purpose is not biology in the sense that it's not something you can locate or scan or measure in a lab. But when purpose is lived, not just thought about or dreamt about or imagined, the biology at the most fundamental level of human system begins to reorganize. The nervous system does not respond to ideas, it responds to orientation. Is it an orientation of imagineering, creation, and flow? Or is it an orientation of fear and survival? When life is organized only around self preservation, the system stays in a subtle threat, a subclinical threat. When life is oriented beyond the self, biology begins to ground. The purpose does not physically live in the biology, but the biology does listen to how we live. Most people approach purpose as an idea. They think about it, they talk about it, they search for it on mountains and caves and retreats and parties. But nothing fundamentally changes for them. Not sustainably, anyway, because the nervous system does not respond to ideas, it responds fundamentally to how life is structured. What you serve, what are you willing to be consumed in the service of? May I also say, what you sacrifice for, what you move towards when no one is watching and grading. A life organized entirely around self protection keeps the system vigilant, always thinking it's under attack. A life oriented towards contribution, service, or an inner truth that you embody begins to soften that vigilance. Not because life suddenly becomes easy and the troubles go away, but because it becomes coherent. You see, in my life, over the last 3 decades especially, I have lived in silence, internal and external, as a monk. I have lived under weight of responsibility of performance as a CEO. And I have taken years to deeply study the brain as a neuroscientist. Now, in silence, I saw how little it is that we actually need. In leadership, I saw how much burden people carry, a lot of it unnecessary. Eventually, in science, I began to see how faithfully the body physically mirrors how we live emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, and most importantly, with a sense of meaning and purpose. And one pattern in all three stages of my life kept repeating. When life is only about the self, the system stays tense and under stress. When life becomes about something larger than your narrow self, the system begins to become more coherent, more grounded, more balanced, more regulated, even under pressure. Not because suddenly stress disappears, but because meaning reorganizes the energy. We know this how? And now, purposeful living is associated with lower chronic stress, greater emotional regulation, and improved resilience. But biology is not the source of purpose. Biology is the receiver and embodiment of purpose. Meaning comes first, and then coherence and well being in the body follows. When life feels meaningful, the system stops fighting itself. When effort, pushing against the flow of water, is replaced by alignment, energy reorganizes naturally. Most people believe they need more motivation, more talks to conquer mountains. But motivation is a force. It pushes the system forward, surely, but towards burnout. Purpose works differently. It steadies the system with alignment, grounding from within. Motivation relies on pressure and effort. Purpose relies on alignment. This is why motivation burns out over time and purpose endures. You don't need more drive. You need a life that makes sense. Here's the paradox: purpose often appears when life stops being about you and attention moves from what do I want to what's worth my life, or what's worth giving my life for, what's worth investing my life in. Then something subtle happens. The nervous system relaxes because there is no more danger, because there is direction, there's alignment. And this direction reduces the inner chaos. This is why service heals in ways pleasure cannot. Why meaning stabilizes where success exhausts. Purpose is not found, it is lived. And when it's lived truthfully, the body knows. Not as excitement, not as intensity, but as coherence, inherent coherence. Biology does not create meaning. Biology responds to meaning. That's why I always invite you all to live in a way that truly makes sense to you. And a regulated system, a grounded system, and a sense of well being will automatically follow.